Hey guys, this is Bingo's Adventures back with another review, and today we're going to be looking at the Alice in Wonderland 1933 film made by Paramount. Um, yeah, hopefully this video won't be a long one, but yeah, this movie was originally like 70 or 90 minutes, and then now it's 75, so those minutes was cut, so I don't know. But yeah, today we're gonna be looking at Alice in Wonderland 1933, and yes, this movie is kind of all over the place, guys. So here's some info about this film. Now, I don't know if it's 100% true, but the budget of the film was $1 million. Now, I don't know if that's completely true. There isn't really any sources that I could find. But it didn't even show what the box office return was. All I know it was a box office flop. And this was also the film that inspired Disney to make the the 1950 Alice film, Alice in Wonderland. Um, it was yeah, like I said, they cut out like 15 minutes, and it had an all-star cast. Like, there was so many people in this movie. Like, I would say like 20 main people in this movie because there is a lot. Um, and yeah, we're gonna start out because I was gonna do a info about the cast before we start, but yeah, there's like all kinds of stars. If you want to know more about it, go to IMDb. It'll tell you about like all the cast and stuff better than I can. Um, the we start with the opening, and the opening seems like a very interesting opening because I don't think a lot of openings did it, because most of the time it's just like a background and they have the words, especially with these original movies. Um, but yeah, the opening was like an actual book, and they flipped through the pages. It was like a good 2 to 3 minutes because it showed everybody, all the people that got cast, or most of the people, I would say. Um, and then we start out with this scene, the first scene where we see it snowing. Yes, this movie is set somewhere, I would say possibly America, because there's no. Yeah, that's another complaint I have about this, is like, this is another film where Alice is not British, and you guys are probably like, oh my goodness, this dude is crazy about what Alice is. But I would say, like, she has to be cast, especially by a British person, in my opinion. Um, Even though this version, I would say, did a better Alice than the 1931. This movie did have a better, I would say, acting than that movie. So that's one good thing I have to say about it. Um, so yeah, we see it snowing, and we see an Alice looking bored, and she's looking through a picture book with her cat. And she goes around her home, plays with her dad's chessboard. Yes, we she has a family in this. She mentions her uncle in this. She mentions her dad. We don't know if that lady in the room with her, because there is a person in the room with her, is her babysitter or her aunt. Alice looks pretty much like a teenager or young adult in this rather than a child, so I don't know. That's one, because Alice is supposed to be a child in Alice in Wonderland. But she goes around her home and with her active imagination, and she she um she just look she just messes around with items in her home. So she then falls asleep because she is bored. And oh my goodness, that cat was not having it. That is exactly what my thoughts say. Um, is that, man, this cat, they couldn't have reshoot it, even though it was like a budget. I mostly can think it probably was because of the locations they were shooting in, or like how much the sets was and the costumes. But like they couldn't do a simple reshoot of the cat because that cat was freaking going crazy when Alice was picking the cat up, which is just, yeah. Then we go to the next scene when she's like in her dreamland type of thing, because if you didn't know, Wonderland is from Alice's dreams. And she wakes up and she's able to go through a mirror, because before she fell asleep, she was talking about, oh, there must be a different room through the mirror, or she calls it the looking glass. So, yeah, they never really mentioned Wonderland in this. So, it could have possibly been called the Mirrorland or something. Um, she is able to go through the mirror and discovers everything is backwards. She finds her uncle is backwards because she finds a frame earlier with her uncle and stuff, and they're like facing backwards. And then she finds this creepy looking clock. No, thank you. And then she finds these little chess pieces that are alive. These chess pieces will be coming back, so we will see them, but man, they are terrified of Alice. And they call Alice a volcano. It it seems kind of rude, especially with if she's like supposed to be bigger than them. Calling her a volcano is kind of crazy, but this isn't the most messed up thing I've seen in this movie. Don't worry, there is more. More. Um, she leaves the house and sees a white rabbit fall down a rabbit hole, and that's wherever I decided to end the scene. Even though there isn't really any transitions to scenes, I just like to end it on a specific spot where I could see it. My thoughts is like, I could tell the effects are better than the 1931 in some shots. Some shots, especially when she grows and then shrinks later on. Yeah, this movie actually does that rather than 1931. So, yeah, I would say this movie's a bit better than 1931, but there is some story parts in that 1931 movie that makes the story a bit better, in my opinion. Uh, so yeah, like I said, the some of the costumes are creepy in this. Absolutely nightmarish creepy. Like, especially some of the costumes I will mention as we go on. The clog is freaking one of them. Then we go to the next scene where we see Alice soon reaches the bottom of the rabbit hole. Um, and then she discovers a bunch of doors and enters that room with a bunch of doors. And she finds a tiny door. Now, if you don't know the story of Alice, it's basically similar to the 1931, except there is no talking doors. In this, finds she finds a little drink. She grows up and she cries because she's too tall, and she floods the floor. Then she finds, I would say, a candy rather than a cookie in this one, and she shrinks down and she falls into a pool. And then we see this little mouse, which is annoyed by her because she keeps pestering him. She's like, oh mouse, can I talk to you, little mouse? And then she talks about her cat, like, Alice, chick, calm down. The mouse is trying to get out of the pool. Why are you trying to bother it as it's swimming? Yeah, it's just like that is exactly what my thoughts say in this as well. It's like Alice is not the smartest in this movie. Absolutely. And the mouse is a mood. Like, he's possibly secretly one of my favorite characters because, like, he's he's already he's already done. He's already done. He probably knows everything about Wonderland and just does not like Wonderland. Like, the dude is a mood. And the next scene is a very short scene. It's Alice meets the dodo bird as she's all wet from swimming through this pool. And he just goes on rambling about history. I'm not going to go into any of it because this movie's already kind of confusing, or very confusing as it is. But, like, that's what Wonderland is. It's a very confusing story with all kinds of characters that show up. That's kind of why I kind of like it, because anybody can come up with anything in these films. And I just find the creativity of these films interesting. Um, my thoughts is like the dodo is probably the nicest character in this movie. Absolutely, absolutely. Like, he seems like he very much cares for Alice, and be like, hey, I can help you out by telling you more information, and probably one of the smartest characters in Wonderland. The next scene is Alice meets the caterpillar. The caterpillar that gives everybody an external crisis because they ask, who are you? What have you done? Or something like that. Very much external questions about somebody. And yeah, he explains the mushroom, and yeah, she decides to eat the freaking mushrooms. She grows tall, she then grows short after testing another mushroom, and then we find more creepy costume looking creatures, even though, like, I would run seeing these guys. We see a fish and a frog fight after he receives a letter to the Duchess, and she soon goes to the Duchess's house. I'm like, the sets are pretty cool. That's exactly what I think. I think the 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 backgrounds, the sets are pretty interesting. Like, especially for a movie of that, of like in the 1930s. And don't forget, this was before the Wizard of Oz. Like, I would say 8 years before the Wizard of Oz. So it did have some time before we actually got more better sets, in my opinion. But I haven't really watched that much 1930s movies. Uh, so maybe whenever I cover, like, for example, that's coming up very soon, which is Shirley Temple and King Kong movies, um, which is coming up next. The King Kong movie is coming up right up next. Maybe I'll say, like, the sets are better for that. I don't know. But for this movie, the sets are pretty cool. Um, so yeah, I would say I can't say the same about the costumes, because like, the costumes are kind of scary looking. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. And we're gonna get into some, especially in this next scene. Oh my goodness. So, this next scene, Alice enters the Duchess's home as there is this baby crying. This cook is throwing dishes everywhere. The Duchess hands the baby to Alice because forget the baby, man. And then the house just disappears, and the baby soon turns into a pig. And yeah, I don't get it all either why the baby turns into a pig, unless they're like, kids are always gonna be pigs. Like, always complain about food and always hungry. So I could kind of see that part of it. And then we see the Cheshire cat, and oh my goodness, it's creepy, man. And he keeps appearing and disappearing, and soon Alice finds a sign to the march in Mad Hatter's house. So my thoughts is, like, this movie is getting more and more creepy. It actually is. Like, the costumes, the sets are actually pretty cool. Um, it's just the costumes, man. Like, I don't know how many kids was crying in the theaters, because it must have been, like, if I'm saying they're creepy now, it must have been super creepy back then, especially the kids, especially if this is like a family film based off a fairy tale. Yeah, it's a dark movie, man. And I don't understand how Alice isn't terrified, because I would have already just have ran and would have had, like, a mental breakdown already. But she just keeps going, man. The Duchess is freaking creepy. The cook isn't looking good. The cat is freaking creepy. Just giving me the chills, man. But we're just gonna keep on. The next scene is Alice enters the tea party in the back, because they are having a tea party, and we see the Hare and the Hatter. Of course, it's very similar to how the Disney movies and the movie before that is, because I feel like they are just doing the exact same scenes in these movies. Except for the Duchess and the kid turning into the pig. We don't see that in the Disney version. Um, They, the Mad Hatter and the mouse, or not the, there is a mouse, another mouse, um, there is rude in this. And of course, the mouse is all sleepy and doped up. I don't know what's wrong with the mouse, but something's wrong. Um, and she just like leaves them because she's tired, or she's tired of their like rudeness and stuff. My thoughts is like, does all Mad Hatters have terrible singing? Oh yes, the Mad Hatter sings the Twinkle Twinkle Little Bat song, and it's just as horrible as the 1931 version. And the Disney movie isn't. It's at least bearable. This one, it's just terrible. Um, and then also, as Alice leaves, they try murdering the mouse. They put its head in the pot. I don't know what is going on. That was just a crazy scene. Uh, yeah, I don't know. The next scene is that Alice enters a door through a tree. Yes, Alice finds a door through the tree. And it's a very similar to how Alice finds it in the Disney movie, except she doesn't sing about it and she's not crying. She just finds a door and enters, and she finds playing cards, painting roses. They warn her about the Queen of Hearts, even though this queen is not very much a threat. She's just a crazy lady saying off with everybody's heads. And then they play like a chaotic game of croquet because the cards are just going all crazy. This is just a crazy place to be. She finds the Duchess again. Yes, one of the few characters that returns. And her and the Duchess leave. And yeah, they go on a little walk. I don't remember much about what they was talking about. My apologies. And then the evil, or I would say the crazy Queen of Hearts comes up and says, "Yeah, off with your head." And then they get scared by the Griffin. And yeah, then we meet the Mock Turtle. A moment of silence because this Mock Turtle, I feel like, is one of the most creepiest aspects, and I feel like it's the most creepiest. And I'm scared. I'm scared, guys. I'm scared of this Mock Turtle, guys. Like, watch this movie at your own risk, guys, because these these costume creatures are freaking weird, man. No, thank you. Yeah, and it's like, it was like, it was just, the costumes were just much more creepier than the 1931 version. And then we go do the next scene, and then we have Alice soon flies with the Red Queen. I feel like that is her inspiration is more of the Disney version, in my opinion, because she talks exactly like the Queen of Hearts. And yeah, she soon runs with the Queen, Red Queen. And then there's this. Then the Queen runs off somewhere. We don't know if she teleports because Alice is in a freaking crazy dream. Then she meets Tweedledum and Tweedledee, like a slightly better version looking of the Duchess, in my opinion, even though the Duchess is freaking creepy. And they tell her the story of the walrus and the carpenter, which is if you didn't know, it's a sad story. And it's animated. Yes, this movie has an animated sequence. Um, and it's very Looney Tunes. I feel like, from what I read, it was made by the original people who did Looney Tunes. So, yeah, I could tell. Um, and that's what I like about original shorts. It's like you can tell who made what. Like Disney has his own style, Looney Tunes has their own style. Uh, the Fletchers, the the Paramount company, you could tell that what their style is. Um, and yeah, she they like tell about the story and then they go on a fight about a rattle. It's very nonsense. Um, and then randomly this giant crow-looking bird um appears, and then we see the White Queen again. And this White Queen is much nicer than she doesn't call Alice a volcano this time, or even act like she recognizes her. Even Alice, I feel like maybe recognizes her, but she doesn't say anything. But like, if I was Alice, I would be like, "You call me a volcano. You call me a volcano. Like, aren't you gonna apologize to me because I'm your size now?" I don't know. Yeah, her personality is very different than earlier. Even though I can understand she was terrified, uh, I feel like, yeah, I also wrote in my thoughts, it was like this, this movie feels very cool. Or not. This movie had a cool Looney Tunes type of scene to it, because, yeah, it's crazy seeing that. And then, this movie feels very rushed. It does, especially at the end. Like, Alice was kind of taking her time through it, and then just like all kinds of random stuff happens in the second half of it. Because Alice was just exploring the land, and then just these random things just keep happening, especially in these last few scenes. Especially in these last few scenes. So, yeah. The next scene is like this very creepy lamb. Like the White Queen turns into this lamb. It's super creepy. And then we see Humpty Dumpty. Another moment of silence. Because what the heck was that costume? Oh my goodness. Ooh. Do I even have to say it for the umpteenth million time in this movie? It's creepy. My goodness. And yeah, yeah. The egg just explains what an unbirthday party is, and I'm just like, I was just creeped out. Creeped out. No thank you. No thank you. I would have already ran from this dude. Man. Oh my goodness. Uh, yeah. No thank you. And then we see the egg fall, thank goodness, because no thank you. And then she bumps into the White King again, and he just acts like nothing happened before either. Like he's a different type of character before he meets Alice again. He doesn't apologize, and she explains, "Hey, your Humpty Dumpty egg, I don't like talking about it. No, thank you. Has fell. And then we meet another character, which is the White Knight. And he explains his different inventions. He's a very quirky character. Probably one of the more interesting characters that I wish we could see more of. And then he tells Alice that, oh, if you follow this, if you go to the end of the forest, you're gonna be a queen. And my thoughts, like, I only wrote one thing for my thoughts, and that was WTF. Exactly. What was that scene with Humpty Dumpty? No, thank you. No, thank you. I don't want to talk about it. And now we're at the final scene, which is the most cursed from this movie. Yeah, this movie is definitely cursed. Yeah, and I'm only gonna do a basic rundown because I can't explain what is going on in this scene. There's just. Ugh. Alice soon becomes queen as they hold a banquet for her, and she soon wakes up and she's glad that it was just a dream. And my thoughts exactly was like, WTF again, because do I even have to explain? Or can I just say, watch the last 10 minutes at your own risk, guys? Because, ugh, it gives me chills just talking about it. And I'm definitely gonna mention a YouTuber. Watch Steve Reviews. Um, he did a review of this movie, and he explained it better than I did. Because no, thank you. I don't want to even talk about it. It's too freaking creepy, man. It makes me uncomfortable. I'm not comfortable, and I'm just done talking about this movie. There was some aspects that I liked, was the sets, uh, but the story for my ratings, it was a 1 out of 5. The characters, it was a 1 out of 5. There was just nothing. Like, the characters was just confusing, and but the music and settings, so much more of the settings I like better, was a 4 out of 5, and overall rating was a 2 out of 5. So it would be like I said in the past, a 1 out of 5 is, I'm not touching this movie again. I would still put it at 1.5, but I did a ratings calculator and it did 2. A 2 is like, it's watchable. This movie is not watchable, man. Like, I had to pause the movie a few times because that movie was freaking creepy. No, thank you. No, thank you. If you want like a good Halloween movie for the kids, to be like, hey, this movie creeped me out when I was a kid. Maybe it can creep you out too. Then just put it on. But I feel like I gotta warn you, I I gotta warn you, movie watchers. Be forewarned. This movie could traumatize someone, and thankfully I'm much more lighthearted about it. But like, oh my goodness. And yeah, we're gonna end the video right here because I'm done talking about Alice in Wonderland for a while, and we're gonna get into one of the most famous movies out there, which is King Kong, 1933. It created basically almost the entire kaiju kaiju era of monster movies, so you can thank King Kong for it. But we're gonna get into that in the next video, which might be one of the biggest videos I've ever did. Probably around 40 to 50 minutes. Yeah, I'll see you guys very soon in King Kong 1933 because I have a lot more to talk about it because I did buy the Blu-ray for it and there is some extraordinary special features for it that I might cover bits and pieces of in that review. So, thank you guys for watching. I'm sorry that I didn't explain much, but I try my best. So, I will see you guys in the next review. Bye.